bus to Vancouver, half in a stupor, damned as the hooligans were who smashed his truth into words. Incoherent, this cat a cougar, sniffing your weird scent, necrological as the obituary the pervert peruses, doggerel literary murmured as music, a cop shot robbing the robbers, false gods as Holocaust authors, a sloth rop in Yakna Patafa, small as a drop of water atop this omnibus fallen on us, peaceless, sleepless as Drake his night terrors, or dreamin' in freedom to make the right errors, donning tight leather, pink cloudy blushes of pleasure, ringing loudly this rusty metal, his trusty bell, summoning lyrics, the cunning of pure spirit, this whisper of the real, under the usual weirdness, simple as Devo, in its beautiful clearness or clarity, fearless as transparency, this use of rhyming words, who the fuck is Heisenberg? Whose waves these guys and gals surf? Ask the child in the church, a diamond in the murk, as a timeless Bible verse these raps, chasing after wind even these ecclesiasts sin, an evil din these clanging cymbals, banging closed the windows, playing this crazy golden drivel, this poetry simple, dragging your soul out of a limbo, or playing the role of the dildo, boning in a disco. Inspired as Bob Dylan to rhyme awkwardly as Dickinson, maligned as the modern immigrant, tried as the mob villain, reviling God's wisdom and violently rocking the system with style as Bob Dylan. Since the 90s, loftily lifting the art of rhyme for all who listen, this environment you all can swim in, refining your myopic vision, spineless among these strong women, dining on this song so different, the knife I won't stop twisting, inciting wanton cop killing, sublime these rocky cliffs, the wind rising to cause mischief, those wily gods so impish, untimely as Bob Dylan is. Is he man or dog, this lil ghost writer, this phantom prophet sipping cold cider, insipid as the cognac, these intoxicants, as living in erotica, ripping the bodices, this dishonest literature, spitting his verse, recurring again, this terrifying art, this hurricane tearing apart your book of dead lore turbulently, dead metaphors your currency, this superfluous man rapping Virgilian propaganda, purple and black his casket buried in Canada, and growing purpler and purpler the ghost, Merlin in his knowing magic, burgeoning his flowing rap gift, this sermon on the mattress, his gravity, slept on as the mattresses, this black city, these imaginings, flying from his mouth into your ears, perfectly clearly, speaking this raw eloquence, these eyes on the rose's thorns, this violence against Christ, our hopeless wars. Complex as the sestina, this freestylistical English as the tongue is spoken in raps, under frozen cracks in the lake, breaking up into 2021, pointing to the sun with foam hands, growing cannabis on stolen land, these pseudo-statements for the poetically literate. Stupid as your hatred of these golden threads we fish with, those fancy suits and flashy ties, to these raccoons their black eyes, undervalued and misprized, captured with a wrapper magnet, an eighth of cannabis, a planet like Arrakis, but it's a cocaine planet, earning the coke he sniffs. Emerging from the foliage, this garden gnome, smarter poems, darker in tone, the truth of the day, the human stain tattooed on the brain, inking weird lines upon his head, drinking cheap wine with a friend, spinning these rhymes until the end of poetry. This loopy unrest is unclear. 2 cigarettes left, 1 beer.
I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. This hip-hop they buy but don't get, false advertising but effective. Like entering the chapel with a fake bomb, you might pretend to rap like Raekwon, and Ghostface scaring the normies here on these Coast Salish territories. We're pridefully very sorry as CISA's spies pour this Merlot for me, or Chardonnay, red and white as the Canadian flag, and the blood cells getting paid as though I weren't unwell. This exploited bipolar Kanye you point at as Heidegger pontificates. Cocaine is costing me quite a lot, I ought to quit it. Chopin's Nocturnes and the iPod, I'm not an idiot. This lawful business, this rap enterprise, this classical music, and the class divide, their classical muses, our crack pipes. I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. To each their own in this green zone of the world. Is Greece and Rome these preacher poems? Look at them twirl as the dancers chemotherapy to their cancer. Greet to our charity these rappers, these free agents, self-managers. A piece supreme, this pièce de théâtre. Simple frames can be misleading, window panes can need cleaning. Idiot brains such as we think, agrammatical random as the I Ching. As we was thusly to be ceasing, 3 kings, the Christ is born, repeating, eternally to return you're sleeping. I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. I ain't saying she a white supremacist, but she ain't messing with no black feminists. Changing shape, this artistry painstakingly sharp and free as anarchy. This math in your fancy, this atavistic necromancy, burning down Plato's academy. Stupid as the slow river, as Kubrick and his old tricks, with words cooler than his cold wit. This music, poetry rich, homeless in a ditch, surviving on dog treats. A slovenly Sophocles, entertaining thoughts of tragedy bold as Sir Galahad. Mansplaining ultimate reality, holy Upanishads. If only this album had the literati on an ice pack from the heat. Those Nazis chasing mice and rats on the streets. Lightning fast, impossible to see. Spiraling down a caramel stairwell, these undesirables found everywhere we go. These fans serving the Andrew who made this. Green plants, blurry flashes of true craziness. A free man learning Bantu languages. Uhuru and man be Uhuru. You can't catch me, you wazungu. Who'd
hang me from a tree, that's too true, beside false fashion of the weak. Like some hammerhead shark in the sea, hitting the nail on the head in her supposing a trail of dead Hitlers decomposing, not to be the end of our winter cold as a king, and our discontent, an extension of our wisdom and sense, as this internet, simple yet complex, this hypertext, textile, sunset sweater, vital as the head, yet wild under the wet weather. The soul severed from its matter, the wrapper. Crawling from the sea onto the sand, caught in these monstrous hands, this microphone ball, this visage, this writing on the wall, superstitious as if it's bad luck to break the laws. It adds up as plastic straws in this ocean hugging the globe. Those robots stunningly droll, punk rock to our rock and roll. Those rappers, those gun laws, gun control, words caught in this soul in patterns. No thought in this flow, so random, so handsome in his tuxedo, this phantom. These embodied souls, these ensouled bodies, their lofty goals, their bold philosophies, as a pot of soil or cold coffee. In July it is champagne to see, so wet and dry. Unique eyes, freestyles in a tongue called English, collecting as new words a song as lifeless as the observable universe, and as cold and bleak. You're old enough to teach the modes and keys of the soul in grief, singing the blues, your crying kiss, speaking in cartoons and hieroglyphs, entombed in pyramids, these beautiful lyrics, and joining the army to kill people, destroying all harmony, still peaceful, constantly rhyming, always finding new caves to paint, falling in time, these modern tribes enslaved by this saint, this Anselm heaven-bound, though cancelled as Ezra Pound, and signed to Faber and Faber, these recycled newspapers, this full moon, this addict is opium, these baracas, this black poem, decaying inside the skull until null. Unusually raw, beautiful, clawing, the elegance of the past, when the white man owned his brothers, words vestiges of back when the white man controlled the numbers, decolonizing the mathematics, postmodernizing rap antics, living our cruel fate, giving human names to the universe, the arrogance and hubris, post-colonial, the new physicists, growing closer, these blue nimbuses, these Kanye Wests transparent for the postmodernist transparents, raising the dead for the black Karens, traversing these lands barren, scaring the listener with crystal words, dripping blood of the first peoples. These dirty needles, gardens of schizophrenia, these parking lots, and transactions illegal as God, the most wanted dead or alive, the most shamanic men of the tribe, the most oddly perfect MCs in Vancouver, these little ghost writers, postmodern verbal entropy and black humor, these little ghost writers hanged in the summer and thrown in the sewer, these enemies of the city of Vancouver. Painting like this, complex as the praying mantis, simple as the stained glass window. These willow trees unafraid of abstraction, because every random action engenders an equally random reaction, because passion is the opposite of fashion. These black suns and communistic red warriors, simple as the storyboards, criminally underrated, criminally insane. My eyes spirals, shooting smack at my trial. Vile what I did on that plane to Cairo, wild what they did in the name of style. In those Fargos, traumatic, dramatic, psychological, those violent crimes and silent nights of fog and snow, tightly formal as those sonnets about love, tightly formal as in bondage when they fuck, with no safe words, as the fate of the earth perturbs. Husbands and wives as fathers and mothers, coming alive their watercolors, upright apes these dog walkers, God lauders. Robert Frost with the honors couldn't outrock this hip-hop verse. Elegant roses entwined in a pattern, everyone knows rapper rhymes with this flapper. Popping bubbles of soap with a hat pin, God in the Hubble telescope laughing, crossing under the red rope unfashionably great as the sun. I don't need validation of this sapid wordplay and pun-sexual foreplay, sacred as the text of oryx and crake, as oranges and grapes is good taste. Painting the wooden gate, feigning a look of hate as Iago, playing since the mirror stage these imagos, these babies dreaming empty dreams of wholeness, complacently eating with whole wheat bread their medication, like another hole in my head and blood spraying, making a statement, the play of drapes in the wind, and a spring fragrant. Growing serenely as the greenery from the snow, flowing through machines, and as machines these flows. Systems of information processing, the schools, the courts, simple this persistent aching to know the superhuman Lord. The options within these systems are decided before they present them to you, steering your physical and controlling your mental too. Our entertainment isn't about anything really real. Fantasy's the dominant genre. I know you know, and I know you know, I know you know. Fantasy's the dominant genre. Fantasy's the dominant genre. Fantasy's the dominant genre. These humans encaged. These humans encaged. There's as many of me as those listening, those friends of LG, standing for lil ghost writers, these many Andrews, represented by skeletal remains, edible brains, these paintings, this independent order of odd fellows, Saul bellows in the flesh, these lengthy pleasantries, this courtesy, making new enemies with his verses these. He spits as the sparks from this spliff in the dark. In the hands of these cannibals, thinking they can handle the contents of his brain case, lively concepts Hades hates, damning the sinners with faint praise. They're not as great as they say, braving the day's final of this carnal, searching the heart of darkness for this kernel, starless darkness of this verbally tarnished instrumental, varnished with his mental breakdance, a kinetic graffito, ahead of his people, the humans. Illegally, these students of criminology, living honestly, simple as the god is to the ghost. Coughing so close to the microphone, recycling vital notions of the notion. Suffering into truth at York or U of T, humbling their view of the world blue and green, a lunar colony, colorful lunacy, groovy this odyssey colored beautifully, sparkles that bled from the bruise, cardinal as the red shoes, heels clicking, grief stricken, symbolizing this Glenn Gould, smoking weed in a spliff again. Genius is my middle name, evil with the pistol aim. This beatnik is riddles in your brain, steeped in fiddle playing and Shinto praying. These 2 trillion beings, or one Afro-Caucasian, new to the hip-hop medium, oddly amazing in his awkward phrases. As as dog owners, we walk slowly the earth, softly covert as God and Noah were, drowning the stockbrokers, these pot smokers in the snow a blur, rolling the rock over their emotions unfurl, this purring fur. It never gets better than this beatnik. These letters you kept as the secret, impressed on the flesh this deep print, these clouds of thought, loud laws as power pop this cheap trick, enumerating elements of style as drunk and white in the slums and dives. We wonder why. Drunk as the butterflies, dunked in the blood of Christ, some survive and others die. Is anyone as stumped by the puzzle as I? 2 trillion galaxies empty of souls, but the earth had to be special though. This ivory tower, to your mind fully down to earth, temporary as the radical flashy newness. These graduate students inviting you home to view a slideshow, citing Foucault in their suicide notes, held in the pen by these men in white coats. Inverting time as tenet, precious as the grandfather clock, curving lines directed as meddling tools in the service of life. Ceases is hip to my every move, burning bright. Sick as COVID, scaring these scholars as cholera. This obituary, these modern phenomena. Deep as the vagina, shallow the lake, erasing his past mistakes. This true fake, green as the winter, white as space. This William Blake, big pimpin' as Jay-Z in 99. It's all symptoms, these telling rhymes. Step into my office and let me let you go. This special rhyme project, spectral as the ghost, incredible sublime objects we mentally behold. Fentanyl in my pockets, fentanyl in my coke. Hard as the phallic nightstick, those evil police. Bards of romantic might spit, peaceful as the sheep. Repeating as the Z, red as the MAGA cap, that maple leaf. Native as the trees, these aborigines. Ingenious puzzles and clues under the blue waves. These liquors intoxicating. Lyrics as the malt drink, passively inhaling the Tao Te Ching. It's easier if God picks the king. Sleeping for days, these impossible things to see from the stage, Brownian moshing of his audience. These moth wings, illuminating the esoteric, lyrically modifying, meaning we made up this project from nothing. These miniature hobbits crawling in the sink and falling in a ring, we're smaller than we think. These infinite lines we wrap inside stars as when galaxies collide. These particles in the pantoum, these villanelles, these infinite vacuums. This carpet, these tiles, this bathroom, this, these, and those. These Higgs bosons, these imposing gods, these directors, their commentary. This nature, this involuntary existence, this truth mythic, this slew of images, as Jewish wisdom these texts. The message is all is breath, the great peut-être, these French men of letters, these metal detectors scanning these verses. Minds pressed into service as currents Lil Ghost Rider swims in these violent deaths, constant as light's speed. The horror of life, the grief, this high sea sustained, sea for cocaine. And counterfeit these trillions of dollars falling, these neutrinos and anti-neutrinos constantly calling the police on this modern Stalin. If we're to believe these frauds demagoguing, this genius should shop for a coffin, it's too common. Terrible as the angels if we're to believe Rilke. This Marx, this Engels if we're to believe this genius. Anarchist peaceniks, thousands deep as the legions in this dream sequence. Stepping onto the planet's surface, letters drawn, these raps turbid, scrawled on my palm never to forget it. These mementos of the dead souls in red cursive, as meteors hurtle through this looped circular music, the dark energy we verbalize, these rude surfer dudes, these beach boys eating curly fries. Naked as mathematical structures in language that inexact plastic substance, invading Iraq because weapons of mass destruction, because that's their function. Lil Ghost Writer is salad and mutton, adding up to nothing. Nothing can come of something as well as nothing. Nothing is nothing but a thing yet to be discovered in the wings. Golden spirals going viral, my suicide. Stolen diamonds at knife point, these cruel guys. Mellow as metal, our jubilant cries. Horrors as wars in dark corners of the earth. Sort of bored. Smart, sordid in the dirt, killed in a sky train collapse, mid-quake, simple designs making their rap mixtapes, human as Dick Cheney, these MCs evil, blue in the face, these crazy deeds, these needles, hard to breathe, dark as the sea. These embers falling on the paths we cross, these magic words. Nothing can come of something, as well as nothing. Nothing is nothing but a thing yet to be discovered in the wings.